Hey guys, this is Soren Productions, aka Nana4673, and I am back in Reflections on the River, part 3. Guess I lost count already. And we're just going. He ignored my last sentence. I suppose I made a lot of jabs at his royal status that he had learned to just block them out. I am simply waiting for you to serve yourself. It is only polite. I also tended to your herb garden while you were away. You do not need to water your plants later. Oh, thanks. You take impeccable care of them. You say that like it's surprising. I suppose it should not be. It is an important element in your craft. You do not need to be so formal, you know. Pardon? The way you talk, saying stuff like important element in your craft. Who talks like that? You can speak casually. No need for long, rambling, formal sentences. This is casual for me. Well, suit yourself. Frankly, I'm surprised that you know how to take care of plants, but I guess you're a bit of a bookworm. I suppose I cannot argue with that. We continued chatting about plants as we ate lunch. It was a new experience, being able to discuss things with someone. I knew mostly waved off everything I said as which nonsense. After lunch, I busied myself with some orders that were due to pick up the next day. I expected the prince to find an untouched book to occupy his time, but he still lingered at the table. I'd left the empty bottles from lunch there, intending to get to them later. I wondered if he expected me to clear the table for his use. I will wash the dishes then. You sure you know what you're doing? Worry not, I may be a sheltered young royal, but I believe I can manage this much. Was that a joke? If you're sure then, careful with that, there's already plenty of chips in my tableware. Of course. I turned back to my work, meticulously measuring out a spoonful of ground up herbs, but I had the feeling I'd forgotten to tell him something. Oh right, thanks. I had to admit it was pretty nice having someone else to help around to help. For some reason though, I also felt a little bad. The afternoon passed quickly, and soon it came time for dinner. True to my word, I asked the prince for assistance. So you just have to slice up these radishes like this. Think you can handle that? Oh, but it does seem quite difficult. I'm only joking, I will try my best. I turned my attention to my cooking duties, the first of which to make suitable marinade for the meat until I heard a soft cry. Oh, what happened? If you sliced off a finger, I'm gonna wonder if the king and queen would still accept the return of their son in a slightly damaged. It is nothing. I stop at the end of sentences. That's not nice. I think my brain is cooked. Basically, that's. I will have to praise this game. I am enjoying it so far. I'm sorry for the not a lot of commenting, but I'm just really enjoying the game. Like seriously, I'm just having a lot of fun with it. To be honest, the dialogue is really good. The writing is really good, and the backgrounds and art style is really wonderful, and I actually really love the general user interface, the GUI. And it's just a really nice experience, the music too. So I'm sorry for not commenting that much, but that's what I think. I really like it. It is nothing. The slice ended up being slightly thicker, that is all. Let me see. I glanced over to the chopping board. The radishes were sliced neatly into uniform sizes, except that last slice, which was possibly just the tiniest bit thicker. It was a much better job than I would have done. I usually chopped them up willy-nilly and ended up with bits that could take longer to cook. I wasn't going to tell him that, though it might get to his royal head. Well, we'll make do, it's fine. If you say so. He's really bothered by imperfection, isn't he? I guess it's tough when you have expectations of you or something. With all the preparation work done, I began with the cooking. The prince watched my every move intently. Why are you taking so much interest in something this mundane? Cooking is not something I can learn about in my many classes. It is a little art. I could tell you anything about literature or history or scholarly subject you might think of. But if I were ever to leave the palace, I would not know the first thing about day-to-day living. Well, it's a good thing you never leave the palace, right? Don't your royal lot stay there forever? I don't see why you need to leave. Except for right now. I suppose you're right. Soon enough, the meal was ready, and so was my stomach. We sat down at the table, with a bowl of rice each. A communal dish lay in front of us. I heaped a bunch of braised pork and radish on top of rice. It wasn't often I got to eat like this. Thank you for the food. Yeah, same, thanks. I barely managed to get the words out. I was busy stuffing my face. The food was pretty good, not to boast or anything. It was a little different for how I normally make this dish, though. Usually the radishes are a little unevenly cooked because I can't always be bothered to slice them in the same size. It was actually a little better this way. Several more days passed, and while there was still no word from the palace, we had settled into a comfortable routine. I would work up my spells and herbs, and the prince would occupy himself with a book from my collection. I would do most of the cooking, with him watching intently, and he would help clean up afterwards. It wasn't too bad. I liked cooking, but I loved doing the dishes. Today, however, there was a knock on the door, far earlier than I would expect, and thus the out-of-ordinary day-to-day routine. I looked up from my work, and the prince sat at the table with Shoes Manuscript Part 2. I asked the fisherman for a copy at the prince's requests. Before the words were even out of my mouth, he had walked up to the door. I went back to work, ignoring the conversation. If it was some impatient customer, the prince would know to turn him away. Could you please just put that away, please? I heard a metallic sound that I realized from my run-ins with the palace guards and their occasional new imports. I knew he would try to push onto people in his special stock. It was a sword being sheathed. I shot immediately to attention. Is something wrong? A whirlwind of royal reds and yellows stormed into my house. Of course there is! You kidnapped my brother, and now you got him under some kind of spell, haven't you? Admit it, you evil, despicable, manipulative witch. Well, sort of asking or prince-blaming anything was wrong, but by all means, let it out. Don't bottle up those feelings. Really, tell me how you feel. I realized it may not have been the wisest thing to say for someone in possession of a sword. Luckily, Prince moved to stand in front of me. I am not under a spell, Yanyu. I am perfectly unharmed. The witch could be controlling what you say. Tell me something only you would know. Prince leaned in to whisper something into her ear, strained to catch it, but it was a fruitless task. If you are not being controlled, then why are you defending this witch? I believe it is the best course of action. How did you come to a conclusion like that? Bloodshed seemed unnecessary at this point. Oh, seems! That is definitely unnecessary. Two of them ignored my comment. I guess you seem unharmed, outwardly. I'll tell the royal physician to schedule a checkup with you in case this witch has brought any sickness upon you. I trust you will allow him to return to the palace with me, which, in return for sparing your pitiful life, well, I will not be returning with you. I know you like your jokes, Prince Shun, but you have a place back home, at the palace. There's no time to waste. The king and queen have sent no one else. This is your only chance to break free of this witch. I will not. You can tell the king and queen the following. I made the decision to leave the palace. The bounty on this witch's head should be lifted, at least regarding my abduction. After all, you did witness me willingly going with the witch, did you not? Only to protect me. Please, I beg of you. Perhaps you can call it an apprenticeship, if that's easier to sell. An apprenticeship? You know well I've always been interested in magical studies. It is a shame our staff at the palace are not well equipped to satisfy my drive for knowledge in this subject. In addition to that, this witch is also adept in certain fields of science which is relevant to my studies at the palace. Not only will I be able to study something we lack a tutor for, but this is also a chance to put some of my knowledge to practical use, is it not? Please. If you are certain, I am. The witch has accepted me as an apprentice, as repayment for their actions. The witch is incredibly remorseful. Now seemed like a good time to pipe up just to get this sword-wielding princess out of my house. Yes, so very sorry. Won't do it again. No sorry. I suppose if it's what Prince Shun wants. She nods before heading out of the door. I will be watching very carefully. I may even send guards to make visits if I have to. You best be careful, witch. Of course you will. I shut the door behind her, breathing a sigh of relief. Your sister is just a bit terrifying. He laughed but said nothing else. Really useful, that. So, yes? What was that all about? What do you mean? The whole princess thing? You're staying here? Why aren't you skipping all the way back home to the palace? I would have assumed you were able to keep up. You were there for the conversation. I'm starting to really think the princess was right and there's something wrong with you. I kidnapped you, remember? I'm the bad guy here. You heard what I told Yanyu. I came of my own volunteer. You had no other choice. That may be true, but you put Yanyu in danger at the palace. that may be true when you put Yanyu in the danger at the palace, but I also chose to stay. Oh God, is that illness where prisoners start to feel sympathetic towards their captors? I read about it somewhere. But I was never really a prisoner, was I? Hey buddy, you know what? I think it's best you go back to the palace and consult a healer, a mind healer. Maybe fetch me my jewel, go find that healer. Your wards. Yeah, the things that kept you a prisoner. The intricate little things, are they not? I too used to be interested in playing little tripwires and the traps as a young child. Of course mine were not so advanced. They were impressive, I'm not denying that, but they were not magical. They could be avoided or even dismantled. Wait. I checked on my secret spot, all the places I thought to hide a good trap. Oh, free. I was nothing if not cautious. Gone, every single one. They were there, the wires were cut, they were no longer functional. So I had been trusting a prisoner to stay in the house based on the honor system. Wait, how long did that take you? Does it matter? It only serves to prove my point. I had stayed out of my own free will. Oh gods, if you're so bright and clever, do you need me to take you on as an apprentice? Head home then. Focus finally to run out of clever remarks and observations. I suppose it is unfair to you if I do not explain myself. You bet it is. I don't know how to put it. Honestly, just spit it out. You've already trampled on my feelings picking fault with my words like that. How much more damage can you do? Traps. Oh, apologies, I did not mean to be so. He might be a bookworm, but he clearly missed out on some well-needed etiquette lessons if you ask me. I'm afraid I may have taken advantage of the situation. Been longing for a reprieve from the palace. It is rather dull there, and it has not been insufferable living with you. Well, I'm glad I'm not insufferable then. What's with the reprieve bit? Palace too royal for you? Buns steamed too perfectly? I might ask, how is your relationship with your parents? Hang on there, kid. This isn't my turn to answer questions. I apologize. It is mildly uncomfortable broaching this subject with anyone. He took a deep breath, preparing himself for something. I'm not sure you know, I am not the heir to the throne, and that I was originally from another kingdom. When the king and queen took me in, they had no one else. I was set up to be the heir, so I diligently took on my studies in preparation for that role. With your help, they eventually had Yanyu. She then became the heir. Who could challenge an heir born by the king's own blood? Not I. I was a royal who did not even have enough importance in my own kingdom that I was pawned off as a bargaining chip. Wasn't he an actual little baby? I do not begrudge her taking the role that is rightfully hers, and I do not wish to usurp her position. I carried on with my studies, I worked hard, however, I often felt that work will all be for naught. I've been given many opportunities, educated by the finest tutors in the kingdom, and yet what am I? Merely a prince in title and nothing else, a hollow name. My 13th birthday draws close. 30th? Holy shit, he's old. And yet I have achieved nothing, a pampered royal who cannot even take care of himself. If this is about the kanji, he ignored my pretty sympathetic comment. I've seen what happens to the spares in the other royal families. They squander their time, the kingdom's wealth on passing fancies, bubbles, and fleeting trysts. I refuse to become a burden for my family. I owe the king and queen too much. I'd hoped to be of some use to the king and queen and my parents, but every time a position opened up at court, I was turned away. It is fine to stay the way you are, Shin. They would tell me, study with your tutors. By their standards, I was not even fit to be a scribe. I felt unwelcome at the court, a child watching adults at work. That day, I had thought that that if the only time I could ever truly be of use to my parents was to protect their heir, I would still be content. I may have been lying to myself, knowing that only Yanyu came looking for me of her own choosing. Did I mean as little to my parents as I thought I did? Had I become a burden? Aw, I'm sorry, Pooh. I have to end the episode here. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.